All right. Now I'm ready-ish.
Okay.
I promise I'm good. All right.
All right. I am Beth.
And I'm Stainy.
And you're listening to Mixed Politics. Welcome to episode 26.
Yay.
What are you drinking, Stainy?
I am drinking a Jamaican staple. I probably have shown this on the podcast before.
So, yeah.
This is what we call the whites. The Ray and Nephew overproof white rum. So I'm probably lit. Probably. But it's just regular, it's rum and coke, but that's like super strong. And some lime juice.
Oh.
Just a sprinkle of lime. I'm just keeping it regular and safe for our first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to experiment too much.
Yeah.
What are you drinking tonight?
I am just drinking a Bang Mix hard seltzer. That's it. I'm not doing anything fancy tonight.
What kind of alcohol is it? Is that vodka?
Oh, honestly, I don't know. I've never looked at what kind of. All I know is it's
Usually those mixes
alcohol,
are vodka.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
All right.
I just know it tastes good.
It does?
And it doesn't have sugar, so I'm good.
All right. So, what are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about what's going on with the economy and with the Supreme Court vacancy.
Okay, so the economy. I don't know if you guys heard or been paying attention, but last year in 2021, apparently we had the best year on record since 1984, which is like 2 years short of my entire life. Yeah. What was the growth of the economy was 5.7% in the year.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had any growth like that for close to 40 years. Wow.
You're telling me I'm a couple years older than you.
Yeah. But one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about that is that the economy is doing really well, but a lot of people aren't feeling it.
They're not feeling it, and they're being told on the television that the economy is shit right now.
It's not shit.
I know, but they're being told that
like
it is.
this specific week, the third week of January, third week of January, like the S&P and index and the Dow and Nasdaq, wherever, everybody took a dive. Crypto's down, all of those things down, whatever. But that's just the stock market. That hasn't really affected anybody who doesn't have stocks, really,
right.
Which is the majority of people,
right?
But the economy as a whole, like it dipped. But it didn't dip to the point where like people are like in the red.
Yes.
Like it's being bearish right now. But the economy as a whole is still doing as well or in the same range as it was end of last year, November, like last quarter, November, December, which is, the 5.7% growth. Mm-hmm. And people aren't feeling it. And the reason why people aren't feeling it is because of the fucking talking points that have persisted for at least since Obama. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when was that? 2008?
Well, that's when he started.
Right.
So 2008.
So the talking points around that time have always been, well, what about the economy? Well, we're worried about the economy. And I'm like, So, just to clear it all up, the economy for regular Joe Schmo, plumber, taxi driver, whatever, is how much bread, milk, eggs, and gas to a certain extent costs.
Right.
That's it. That's the economy for most people. However, when economists and people on the news are talking about the economy, they're talking about how much money rich people are making off stocks.
Yes.
That's it. It's not the same thing. So right now the economy is amazing, according to the TV, which means rich people are doing really well off stocks. You can't buy egg, milk, bread, cheese, or gas. And you're like, why do they keep telling me that it's so fucking good? And gas is $3.75 or whatever the hell it's at. Like, it's not good. And for me personally, for just this one I told you so point, I'm happy that this is happening so that people can finally stop doing this shit about, well, I'm voting for so-and-so because of the economy.
Yeah.
Bro, do you have any stocks? No, then shut the fuck up about the economy, man. Like,
one thing that I want to note about the talking points in the media is about inflation, and that goes to the price of gas, the price of bread, the price of milk, the price of eggs. Economists understand this, but they're not really saying much because they don't give a shit.
They don't. They got their money.
The average person freaks out at the price of gas and bacon and ground beef right now, and they're like, "Oh, inflation this, inflation that." One thing we need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
The reason that the prices of meat are going up right now, the price of eggs are going up right now, is because when was the last time you walked out into your backyard and slaughtered a cow and ground your own meat? No, you go to the store to buy it. Now, cows don't actually graze in the grocery store. They have to be shipped, So everything is being shipped to these grocery stores, which means it's dependent on the gas prices. Gas prices are a factor in pretty much everything that you buy at the store.
Yeah.
So if not for gas prices...
How much does it take for us to get the shit here?
Yeah, exactly. So if not for gas prices, the cost of everything else probably would not be escalated right now.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that all of the talking points going on right now about inflation, they're all year over year.
Yeah.
That's it. Were you going to talk about that?
I was, but only briefly because, obviously economists are looking at, many years compared to this year and not just, what was it last year or what was it in 2020 or whatever. And like, if you, it's, I don't know, it's very frustrating because you have to, as an individual, do more looking into these topics than just what you hear for it to make sense. Like if you hear the economy is doing good, but you're like, yo, I just spent $90 on gas this week. You're like, well, it's obviously not doing good. But I've been trying to tell you for a long time that what they mean as the economy and what the economy means to you are two different things. So if you're voting based on the economy, if you're making financial decisions based on the economy, and you're not a shareholder, a stockholder, you don't have bonds, you're not invested in crypto or whatever, then you probably need to stop listening to these people and figure out a way how to buy eggs and meat and bread. Because they're not talking about you.
Definitely stop listening to these people. They're trying to manipulate the statistics and only share the part of the story that makes you get upset.
Right.
So the reason I mention year over year is because the main talking point right now about inflation is that this is the highest amount of inflation since 1982. There was no pandemic in 1981. The reason that there was inflation in 1982 was because of monetary policy. Yeah. So if we fast forward to now, yes, we do have inflation year over year. So the inflation we have now is compared to last year.
Yeah.
What's been happening the last 2 years?
We haven't been doing shit.
There's been a pandemic. In 2020, nobody was driving anywhere.
Right.
Gas prices were negative.
So
the reason that it's inflated prices is because we're comparing it to the last year.
All right. This isn't even speculation. This is exactly what has happened. Over the last 2 years, we as a country, as actually the global community, spent less on travel, we spent less on entertainment, we spent less on like just excursions in general, going out to eat, going out, sporting events, they couldn't have crowds or audiences or whatever. So all of those were cut out. So people had money that they weren't spending on,
goods and services.
No, they weren't spending on services like travel, but they started spending on goods. So if you weren't going to Disney World and if you weren't going to Nantucket or Key West or whatever, now you had like $2,000. You're just like, fuck it, I need a new computer.
Yeah.
So you bought a new computer. People got new TVs. People got new whatever, and that's why, because of the and if you really want to like put in all of the information that made the economy what it was last year in 2021, you have to also factor in the stimulus. So people finally got their socialist checks, where some of their tax money that weren't being used for, military bombs came back into their pockets. And they're just like, holy shit, instead of $2,000, I have $4,000. So instead of buying one PC, I'm going to buy one for me and my girlfriend or me and my kid. And I'm going to buy a PS5 and whatever. So people started buying more goods, but the services kind of, it
shrunk a lot.
It shrunk. So here's also what that affected, right? If you're buying more products, just like you mentioned before, the shipping, the trucking, the transportation, whatever, right? And so it's so weird that I listen to actual smart people that I know are telling me, oh, there's a shortage of this and there's a shortage of that. It's just like, do you realize that people bought 5 times more of X last year, X good, X thing, than they did any other year in history because we were sitting at home with our thumbs up our ass, like, what are we going to do?
Right.
Might as well buy a PS5. And now they have to ship out more PS5s, more TVs, more computers, more cameras, more digital cameras, more whatever. And then all of the stuff that everybody's buying off Amazon.
Yes.
Which is why Jeff Bezos increased his net worth exponentially over over the pandemic. And so it's all of those factors that makes the good buying part of the economy doing really well. So if you look at stocks, which if you really shave it down to the nitty gritty, stocks is a bunch of boxes in a warehouse somewhere that you've never seen, and you own 2% of those fucking boxes. Instead of there being 10 boxes like in previous years, there are now 500 of those boxes because you're buying the shit with the stimulus money, with the whatever.
Yes.
And so that's what kind of pushed the economy to 5.7%, or the GDP growth to 5.7% last year. And it's been 40 years since anything like that happened. But if you just listen to the TV, it makes it sound like, oh, don't worry, we're doing really, really well. But at the same time, we can't afford shit. No, we aren't doing really, really well. Hedge fund managers are doing really, really well.
Yes.
That's the difference between the economy and the economy.
Right. And you just have to keep in mind that every time you hear somebody saying 5.7% growth, they're talking about now as compared to a year ago. And so gas prices are up, inflation is up as compared to a year ago. So remember what you were doing a year ago. And also, we have to keep this in perspective of what gas prices are now. What are they, $3.50 a gallon or something? It's over $3 a gallon, which is the same as what it was in 2017.
Yeah.
Y'all been here before. So I know everybody's freaking out because the media is telling them the economy is terrible, and inflation is this, inflation is this. You're paying the same price for gas now as you were
pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic. So it's all relative. You have to keep this in mind. But to your point, the economy for us is different from the economy as it relates to the stock market and the high securities trade, or the all the trading that happens with the stocks and the bonds, and everything is different for us.
It was such a frustrating talking point leading up to the Trump election.
Yes.
Where people were just like, well, I'm concerned about, I get it when people are just like, well, I'm concerned about the Supreme Court because they just want to infringe on women's rights. I get it. That's important to you. You want to do that. Be my guest. Or go fuck yourself. But whatever. But when people were like, well, I'm worried about the economy or whatever, I'm like, what the fuck do you know about the economy?
No.
Because the economy that the TV's telling you is about stocks, and you don't own any.
Correct.
So just please
Are
stop.
any of us high frequency trading right now? No. Then we are not part of.
Wait.
No, I'm talking high frequency trading, not just trading.
Okay. So high frequency, not volume.
Exactly.
Because I am buying the fuck out of put options.
Oh, I know, but no, you're just trading.
Yeah.
That's just trading.
I am day trading the shit out of put options right now.
High frequency trading is what happens with the people who can do it in milliseconds.
Right. So I'm just a retail investor. I don't have access to the bullpen.
So if you're not a high frequency trader, you're not talking about the same economy that we are.
You're not. So in terms of inflation, since you brought that up, the predictions for this year, and this is to quell the doom and gloom. the prices are going to go down. Every economist,
Yes.
and I did a lot of
Yes.
reading over this week getting prepared for this podcast, is that by the third quarter of, so we just started the first. Mm-hmm. Man, January is going slow as shit.
It is.
It's like January. And then it goes February, March, April, May.
Yeah.
Yeah, every year, same shit.
Yeah.
But third quarter, the predictions from economists that I've read, and economists that work for CNBC, Bloomberg, even Fox, are saying that by the third quarter, all of these crazy prices should just go back to normal.
It's going to stabilize.
So,
for sure.
like right now, I think it's at somewhere at like it's peaking at around 7%, which is where we're teetering right now.
Sure.
In terms of inflation, and they're saying that by the third quarter, we should be somewhere back in the somewhere between 2.7 and 3.7%.
Yes. And that is, are they saying that's just going to be normalizing on its own, or
Yes.
as a result of monetary policy? Because
Not monetary policy. Normalizing on its own, and then also a lot of this backlog of hold up on goods and microchips and all of those things that are whatever. They're expecting that to ease up with one, more vaccination, more travel, whatever. But also maybe a little bit of monetary policy, because there's a buzz right now, and it's not just a buzz, like it's going to happen by March. I'm predicting by March. The Fed is going to hike the interest rates.
That's why I was going there with the monetary policy.
Girl, I'm on this. Why you act like I don't know what the fuck
I know. Well,
Yeah.
we were talking about that at work today.
Yeah,
It's impacting my industry that the Fed is going to hike rates. And this is not something to freak out about, because as it relates
They do this all the time.
All the time.
Especially once people start getting money.
Yes.
And like we're just like, oh, they got money to spend. Just turn it up a little bit.
But I want to drop a little bit of knowledge here, that when I first started working in the financial industry, it was in the late 90s. Interest rates were 8%, I believe.
Wow.
And in the early 2000s, the interest rates dropped, and they have not risen since.
Yeah.
We have been close to 0% rate for a long, long time. So I think a lot of people forget about the perspective. It's about the perspective, where we are today versus where we were 40 years ago, the last time we had this much of an increase in inflation. And back 40 years ago, interest rates were 20%. So the Fed was doing their thing to try to manipulate this a little bit, but the borrowing rate was at 20%. So so you're talking about
That was
today,
just about Bush presidency, right? The first.
No. I'm talking about Reagan years. And back then, interest rates were 20%-ish. So we're talking about people having mortgages with 20% interest rates. That's where they were the last time inflation was this high. So please understand that yes, gas prices are up.
And right now, today, they're really, really low.
Very
like
low.
You can get a mortgage for like if you have a decent credit rating and like whatever, you can get like 2.3% right now.
Yes.
Like easily. So
It's
my
very
advice
low.
to you is, if you're looking to buy a house, and I know this market is shit because I'm a real estate agent. It's a very good seller's market. Buyers are losing their shit. If you can buy a house before March 15th, you should do that, because the rate is.
Oh, but even at that, no, the interest rates when the Fed hikes the prime rate, it only goes up 0.25% of the time.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get up to 20% anytime soon.
Nowhere near 20%.
So when he says that the rates are going to go up, it's not going to be.
Yeah, it's not
gonna be
going
much.
up. It's not going up by like 1 percentage point. But if you're buying a house for like $350,000, like 0.25%,
It makes a difference. Yeah. So but I don't know that our audience is going to be buying $300,000 homes. So.
Hey, I think all my audience members are rich as fuck. Got more money than me. I'm hoping that they do.
So yes, it's all about thinking, yes, if you're scared about the economy right now, if you're scared about inflation, and they the media compares it to 1981, 1982, actually go back and look at the statistics and the interest rates from back then, and it's very starkly different from where we are today.
Yeah.
So it seems like doom and gloom, but it's really not as bad as it was last time inflation was this high. And like you said, it's going to normalize.
Yeah.
The interest rate, the Fed's going to hike the prime rate. ever so slightly. They might hike it several times this year.
Because I was gonna mention that. Like, I think during the Trump presidency, in that, I don't remember what year it was, but they hiked it like 3 times. Like,
yes.
it went up
and
like...
It was so small.
It was small, but it did go up 3 different times in 1 year.
Speaking of, Trump is that much of just a maniac that he was trying to get the Fed to lower it to negative interest rates. I mean, dude is an idiot.
That is not taught in any economic class.
It's not a thing.
Anyway, what the fuck? He just thinks up shit. You remember? Because he wanted to nuke a hurricane. This is the same guy we're talking about. So let's not spend any time on that because what's the fuck?
So make sure that you're using reliable sources when you're trying to get information.
Negative interest rate. So like you go to the bank for a mortgage and they're just like, here's also some money.
Yes. That's not a thing. That is not a thing. So, yes, monetary policy is going to come into play here a little bit, but those are things that just kind of tweak a little bit, but it's not going to be drastic.
Yeah. By the end of 2023, or actually, I don't know if it's the end, by 2023, what I've read, and I've read from multiple sources I like, sources I don't like.
Hey, that's good critical thinking skills right there. Expose yourself to things that you don't necessarily like.
It's one of the things that I have to do when like preparing for this. I'm like, what are these fucktards saying? What are these people who I trust are saying?
Exactly.
And,
bring it on.
But this time everybody's saying the same thing.
Okay.
Actual economists. And like I implore you, if you do claim you care about the economy, go read. Literally, there's a paper called The Economist.
I love The Economist.
Go read it.
Yes.
Yeah. I get an email to me weekly. So they're saying that it's going to normalize by third quarter 2022. 2023 is going to be even lower.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that what they're banking on is that the pandemic at that time should be endemic. Mm-hmm. And if you're one of those people who does your own research and you've never heard of the term endemic, go do some more research. Go do some more fucking research. But yeah, so if they're banking on maybe by third quarter endemic, but there's like this poll or petition if we should get like another stimulus check.
Interesting.
Yeah, and like so I clicked on it just for fun.
Oh, yeah.
And like 79% of the people were just like, yes, another stimulus. And I'm like, you socialist motherfucker. You socialist pieces of shit. Yeah.
So funny to me.
It's so funny that everybody hates socialism and communism out loud, but when you get to click on your phone in privacy of your bathroom while you're taking a tube, you want another stimulus check, don't you? And it's fine. I'm cool with it. You know why? Because you paid the taxes. So if they ain't doing shit with it except building more bombs and you're just like, give me back some of my money earlier in the year than I usually would get it, then I'm cool with it. Get your money, young man. Get your money. But that's what the poll, I don't know if it was a government poll or like an actual, I don't know if it was a poll or petition, one of them. But like I keep seeing it popping up, like, would you want another stimulus check? And I was so surprised, I was like 79%.
I'm not surprised. But this makes my brain hurt. You want to know why?
Why?
As a student of economics,
Yeah.
somebody who has done extensive research in comparative economic systems, the fact that people would call this socialism or communism makes my brain hurt so much.
Like if I give you $10, all right, tell you what, if I give you $10 every week for doing this podcast, that you should come here and bring Coca-Cola so I can drink my rum. And you keep doing that. Mm-hmm. But then after a while, you're just like, yo, I keep giving you $10, but the Coca-Cola only costs $4. Uh-huh. So that every week I could give you $6 back.
Right.
And then at about 4 months, you're just like, yo, I kind of got like $200 I could give you back that I haven't been using.
Right.
And you should just have it here. Like, I don't know why people have a problem with this.
I don't either.
But that's really what's happening. Because they ain't doing shit with our money except making the greatest military in the universe.
I was just going to say, they're making bombs, they're making planes, they're making drones, they're making all this kind of stuff.
Give me my fucking money back. Like, build schools, greater fire departments, build roads, bridges, airports, and then whatever's left, be like, yo, hey, I know I was born in the wrong era and also the wrong race for the era, because believe me, I don't want to be born in any time previous to now as a black person. I'm not crazy, but
understood.
When Jefferson balanced the budget was so cool, when he was just like, hey guys, we've paid off all our debt and we got a fuck ton of money here. I guess we should give it back to the people who gave it to us. I don't know why we don't think like that now, because that was very socialist of him.
Yes, but I mean, there's a reason for us to have debt in our economy, because I mean, we've talked about this before. We should do a whole episode on the Federal Reserve.
Debt drives borrowing.
Yes, exactly.
Ability.
We should do a whole episode on this.
You know what? I'm gonna write that down.
Yes.
We are doing an episode on the Fed Reserve.
Exactly.
And
monetary policy, how this works, how our economy
and
actually
gold-backed currency and certificates and bonds.
Yes.
Oh Jesus
Yes.
Christ, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have to get
talk
drunk.
about Fort Knox a little bit too? I mean, that's just kind of cool.
Does Fort Knox even have gold anymore?
I don't know if they still do. I think so, because where's it going to go?
We're told they have gold.
Where's it going to go?
You know what the funny thing is? You might get into Fort Knox and there's like 8 bricks.
Ain't nobody getting into Fort Knox.
Yeah, be like 8 bricks just sitting there like on a pallet. Like,
I know.
This is what we have.
But there's so much misinformation about how our economy works, to the extent that I just saw an interview with Janet Yellen, and Glenn Beck was talking about this interview, calling it fascism, what she was talking about. And I just wanted to throw something, because what he was referring to as fascism was Janet Yellen saying that they were going to try to incentivize through market-driven incentives to get businesses to invest in clean energy.
What's wrong with that?
How is that fascist? I thought that's what conservatives wanted, was to have market incentives.
That's the thing. They just throw around, like, anytime they're against a person or an administration or a thing, they just throw around buzzwords. They're just like, socialist, communist, fascist. And it's like, bro, you are the motherfuckers who try to overthrow the government. That is literally, like, if you look in the dictionary under fascism, you will see a big ass picture of January 6th.
Look up self-coup. This really hurts me a lot to hear people throw out these words when I've actually studied this, and I'm like, that's not at all what this is. Do you even know what that means? They don't.
I don't know what fascism is, man. It's kind of weird.
It's insane to me. So yeah, I think that's good to let people at least know that the more wise approach to take to the economy when you hear inflation, then turn off the television. Go read a book.
Go read The Economist.
Go read The Economist.
It's a really good publication.
Yes, it
really
is.
Good. We're done with The Economist.
All right. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the Supreme Court vacancy. Justice Stephen Breyer announced this week that he, or at least when we're filming this, that he is going to retire. I hear he's a little upset that it leaked in the press, because he didn't really want people to know yet.
So he's also not that smart.
No. He's smart. No. Trust me on this.
He told somebody, and then he's upset that it leaked in the press. You told somebody, dude. If you don't want it leaked in America, don't tell anyone.
He has a staff, though. I don't know where it came from. But there have been rumors, because within the last several months, he had lunch with Joe Biden. There's been a lot of pressure for him to step down because he's 82, 83 years old or something. So we're going to talk about this and the reasons it's important. Here's some basics that I think every American needs to know about the Supreme Court, because there's so much misinformation about what the purpose of the court is, but then how these appointments work and how the Senate confirms these people. So the Supreme Court is established in Article 3 of the Constitution. Strangely, lots of people don't know this, but Congress actually creates the lower courts. The Supreme Court is the only court that actually is codified in the Constitution. So they can't issue official rulings on anything hypothetical. They can only rule on cases that are in front of them.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people want the Supreme Court to have some kind of a guidance, a hypothetical guidance about Roe v. Wade and about guns and legislation about gun control and everything like that. Well, they
Yeah.
can't. They have to have a case in front of them to actually make those kind of rulings. There's nothing in the Constitution, nothing, zip, zilch, nada, about how many Supreme Court justices can be on the bench.
You know what? Not to cut you, but I think we also should do an entire episode on the Constitution.
Sure.
Which is weird because like that whole episode can take 20 minutes.
Oh, well.
The Constitution ain't long.
Well, no. See, reading the Constitution only takes about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But talking about all the shit that happens as a result of the
Can take 2
Constitution,
days. Yeah.
that's like 5 episodes. So the Supreme Court started with 6 justices in 1789. And then it was expanded to 9 justices in 1869.
Yeah.
And hasn't changed since. There have been 9 justices since then. I kind of feel like it's time to change that. But
You want more or less?
I want more.
Why?
Because more experts involved in a discussion provides even more diversity of thought. The more diversity we have, the better these arguments go. And you can really tell this if you listen to Supreme Court arguments and the oral hearings, which I do. They live stream. So
Yeah.
I sometimes sit and listen to live hearings going on. And you can hear them asking certain questions, and you can kind of figure, I think I know where this person's going with this, but then they ask a totally different question. But the diversity of questioning and thought is what makes a better ruling, I think.
Okay, I agree. But there's also another consideration that I'm thinking about.
What's that?
And it might be just the drinks, or it might be my cultural background, it might be all of this. But have you ever heard of the saying, too many chefs
Too many cooks in the
spoil
kitchen?
the broth?
Oh, too many cooks in the kitchen. I
That's
thought
how y'all say it here?
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah.
All right, where I'm from, it's too many rats dig a terrible hole. That's a loose translation.
That is a possibility, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just like, some people are just like, we should have 17, we should have 13, we should have 15. And I'm like, why you really want all of these people?
I think that
Like, so in terms of the too many cooks and too many chefs, you don't think that would be an issue?
17 seems excessive, but I think there's a good balance you can find. I think maybe 9 isn't really enough, because there is recently, I'm just going to say it, I'm not trying to sound ageist here, but there are some elderly people on the court.
Except that one new chick who never tried a case before she got there.
Amy Coney Barrett?
Jesus Christ. I know what, like, this is America. How did that happen?
I know. But so Stephen Breyer is one of those who he's elderly, 83, 82, but he actually was my favorite after RBG. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, hands down my favorite justice of all.
We can't tell.
Right. And after she died, I still had a little bit of comfort in Justice Breyer being there. I have books of his. I own books of his. He's a fascinating character. This was a book that he wrote about how Supreme Court cases throughout the years have actually impacted the globe. Other countries' justice systems or legislatures.
What's that other book you got there?
This one is one that I read years ago. It's called The Nine, Inside the Secret World of the Supreme Court. And this is really interesting because it talks about the friendships between some of the justices that are diametrically opposed politically, like RBG and Antonin Scalia. But
the author, Tobin, where
Jeffrey
did,
Toobin.
Toobin, sorry. Where did he get his, is he like an insider? Was he like a staffer or?
I don't recall. It's been so many years since I've read this book. I don't recall off the top of my head. I'll find out though. But the kinds of stories that are in there we're talking about, and this is relevant to the whole discussion of how the court works. Chief Justice Rehnquist was writing what he thought was going to be the majority opinion for a case. It's called Casey versus Planned Parenthood. This is the second major case after Roe v. Wade that really solidified that abortion was a right guaranteed under the Constitution.
I remember that case.
Yeah, it was in 1992. So Chief Justice Rehnquist was writing an opinion that was basically like, Roe got it wrong. And there were 3 conservative justices on the court that read his draft copy, and they said, "Oh, that's a bridge too far," and they actually sided with the liberal justices, and that's how Casey versus Planned Parenthood became the one that did not overturn Roe v. Wade. Chief Justice Rehnquist actually thought that they were going to be overturning Roe in 1992. But it was his language in that opinion. They were like, dude, no, that's not cool.
You tripping, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So Justice Breyer is one of the types of people who is what they call a pragmatist.
I like that word.
Yes, that's an actual term that's used to describe the people who think that the Constitution is a living document. People like Chief Justice Rehnquist or Antonin Scalia are what they're calling originalists. And they think that the dudes who wrote the Constitution in 1789
wrote it with divine intervention and are without error or reproach.
Exactly. So every time a vacancy occurs, we're going to hear this discussion again. Is the person a pragmatist? Are they an originalist?
I wonder though, like, how can you be so educated to where you have like a Juris Doctorate and like have tried cases, whether you were an appellate judge or whatever, and you really look at the Constitution where people were fucking firing muskets and shit and fucking with the gunpowder and whatnot, and thought these people have made laws that will span eternity.
I will tell you.
How does your brain, like, I know you're smart. You're not, Anthony Scalia is not a fucking idiot. Like, he's not a moron. And I'm like, how can you be an originalist by thinking that somebody in 18 whatever has the insight to make a law that's good for managing cryptocurrency?
I get it.
And blockchain and NFTs. Like, what the fuck? Are you dumb?
I can answer that for you. It's called the Federalist Society. It's an organization that heavily influences the conservative movement, and that's who Reagan turned to help pick his Supreme Court nominees. That's who George W. Bush turned to. That's who Trump turned to. I don't believe that these people actually, in their core, believe this.
You can't.
But it's a way for them to wield power on the court. They're pretty much their sole intent is to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Federalist Society in the early 80s really gained traction as a backlash, or swinging the pendulum the other way against what they deemed to be liberal, radical movement. Now, really what it is was progressivism. It's a progressive movement of humanity going through life and determining that there are certain rights that we should be able to secure that doesn't involve government intervention, trying to take a stance of life. It's like, I get it. I get that you're passionate about saving the babies. However, we have a little bit of...
These motherfuckers kill more babies than anybody else.
I get it. But this is kind of a big thing for them, that they just see that action of women being able to use abortion for whatever purpose it is. It doesn't matter if it's rape.
To have some kind of leverage over a man. Or be like, you can't own me and I can divorce you because we don't have any kids. We can't have that.
We have talked about the reasons that women have abortions. It could be rape. It could be incest. It could be failed contraceptives. It could be medical complications.
It could be my husband beat the shit out of me and I don't want to bring his progeny into this fucking world.
Right. There are so many reasons. But the Federalist Society doesn't care about those reasons. They are so focused, hyper-focused on it's killing a baby, therefore we need to overturn Roe v. Wade. So these justices that are coming in on the conservative side they're chosen by the Federalist Society, and that's their sole purpose. So to me, it just seems...
I kind of wonder about the end though, because I get that they're working on this means to this end, but I'm kind of worried about... I'm concerned about the end, where I'm like, let's say you do. Let's go to the extreme. Let's say we do overturn Roe v. Wade. You do realize that people will fly to Canada and have fucking abortions, or the Dominican Republic, or Colombia,
They understand. This is a culture war. So it's not about actually stopping abortion. It's about the perceived win, the emotions, the feelings that they have, that they got a win over the liberal movement. That's it. That's all they're concerned about. It's not about a moral high ground. They say that it is, But in essence, they're not stopping abortion. They're just preventing women from getting it within their state boundaries, and therefore they feel like they've won. And it's interesting that the whole fuck your feelings crowd is so concerned with the feeling of winning this argument.
These motherfuckers will die on the hill of we own the liberals.
They will.
Which is cool
They will.
to me because
They
I'm
will.
not a liberal. I'm a far fucking leftist. So own them all you fucking want. I don't give a shit about the penis, the fucking pussy hat wearing bitches. Like, I don't care.
So
But okay.
I could say a couple things about how originalists are very ignorant in a major way, and it has to do with the way that the justices are actually confirmed, but I'm going to skip it, and I'll come back to it if we've got time. But it just, in a nutshell, if they were so originalist, then they would go back to the original Senate rules of how these confirmations happen, and they wouldn't be talking about 67 or 60 or 51. They're not originalists. That proves it. So the big thing with the Supreme Court, any case that comes before them, there's this term called stare decisis, and that really just means court precedent. If they're ruling on cases that are similar to something that's been ruled on before, stare decisis means that they're obligated to keep the precedent from before, unless something major changes. So it's a key component of most of these culture wars, though. Abortion, gun rights. The stare decisis is something that the Federalist Society is like, fuck it, throw it out the window. We don't give a shit. Overturn
They
it.
don't like precedent?
Not when it comes to Roe v. Wade. Not when it comes to Roe v. Wade. So when you get people from the Federalist Society who are on this mission to overturn Roe v. Wade, they end up actually saying that court precedent goes out the window in favor of my personal political whims. Now think about that for a second. That's pretty radical, if you ask me, to say that court precedent is secondary. My personal political whims are primary. And I don't want those people sitting on the bench. I'm sorry, I don't. So say what you want to about radical leftist judges that are being put on the bench, but history has shown us that those people tend to be very conservative with overturning things. They don't do it very often.
Yeah.
To them, court precedence means a lot. So the ones that are overturning a lot of shit are the people coming from the Federalist Society, and that just seems very radical. But the other thing is that they tend to embarrass themselves a lot. And I have a clip that I want you to see. It's about a minute and a half. This is why Justice Breyer has been so good on the bench. We're very uncomfortable, we've said this before, with Brett Kavanaugh. Like him and Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, these newer Supreme Court justices.
Wait. To be honest, I personally don't have a huge problem with Neil. I don't.
He's pretty
I
quiet.
think he's a decent judge.
Quiet.
He keeps his own personal politics out of the bullshit the vast majority of the time.
I've heard some of his line of questioning.
Yeah. Yeah, his questioning is I'm just like, what the fuck you asking, bro? But like in the end, when I read his actual whether it's dissent or his agree, I'm just like, oh, this dude, he went back into his chamber and was just like, no, the law says, and this is what I have to do. Well, okay, fine.
Right.
He begrudgingly just like, no. Yeah. But the other two though, fucking beer lover Kavanaugh and Becky from Starbucks. I don't trust these people at all.
There's reason to not trust, and I urge everybody, go listen to some of these. You can find them on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Just don't find clips of MSNBC telling you what happened. Listen to the whole thing yourself. Yeah. Because you find some really good gems in here. The clip I'm going to play was from a very recent case. This is the Supreme Court took up a case of abortion, I believe it was in Mississippi. And there was a lot of question about stare decisis and whether they should stick with Roe v. Wade because it's precedent, almost 50 years, versus overturning it in favor of saving the life of the unborn. So Brett Kavanaugh lists a whole bunch of prior cases, and he was asking why the court should uphold Roe v. Wade merely because of court precedent. And then he listed Brown versus Board of Education, Baker versus Carr, West Coast Hotel, Miranda versus Arizona, Lawrence versus Texas. There's a couple other, and he goes, and I could go on. He's listing a whole bunch of cases, and he goes, just tell me why we should consider keeping Roe v. Wade when all these other times we overturned precedent. And this clip is Justice Breyer basically saying, hey, you fucking punk. If you're going to be citing cases and precedent from what we're talking about here, you should actually read the document, because the document doesn't say any of the shit that you just listed here.
He literally did like the conservative tactic of like Gish Gallop, or it was just like, I've said a number of things,
yes.
and I've said so many things that you don't have the time nor resources to come back them.
Yes.
But then Breyer being fucking 82 is just like, listen, this ain't my first rodeo, you fucking jip.
Yep. This is why I love him so much. So just listen to this, and this is great.
And it turns out, if the court in those cases had listened and they were presented with arguments in those cases, adhere to precedent.
I'm talking about pages 854 to 863 in the Casey case. And I've already used up too much time. I can't read those pages out loud. But they do not include the list that Justice Kavanaugh had. They do include two. One is Brown, and the second one is West Coast Hotel versus Parrish. And you could add the gay rights cases as a third, which would fit the criteria. But there are complex criteria that she's talking about that link to the position in the rule of law of this court. So all I would say is you have to read them before beginning to say whether they're overruling or not overruling in the sense meant there, calling for special concern. Of course, Plessy was wrong when decided, but just a minute. Also remember, Plessy said that separate but equal was a badge of inferiority. No, they said it isn't. Well, all you have to do is open your eyes and look at the South, my friend, and you will see whether it was or it wasn't in 1954. I mention that because I want people to read those 15 pages with care, and that's why I said that.
Yo, do you know what he just did in like urban culture? He just fucking rooked the fuck out of this guy. He's like, listen, rookie.
Yes.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Welcome to the league, Rook.
Exactly.
He rooked him. He rooked him. He rooked him in public. He's like, you've listed a bunch of cases that I'm sure you never read.
Exactly.
Go read pages 15 to 18, which I've read taking a shit on my toilet. You have not. Clearly.
Yes. This is why the Federalist Society pumping out these people who...
Oh my God, we're losing this guy?
Yes, this is the guy that's stepping down. Oh, yes. That's why he's one of my favorites. That's why he's been my favorite since RBG has been done.
This guy is a boss.
He is a boss. So he's important because these people coming out of the Federalist Society are not educated in case law. They're not educated in why precedent matters. So you got Brett Kavanaugh saying, you know, Plessy versus Ferguson, that was we overturned that with Brown versus Board of Education. So why shouldn't we just overturn Roe v. Wade? And Justice Breyer was saying, dude, Plessy said separate but equal, but all you had to do was fucking open your eyes and look to see that there wasn't anything equal about it. And he's saying the same thing about the Casey case and Roe v. Wade. It's in the pages that he referenced. I looked them up. And what it's saying is, there is nothing that has changed in case law that has said that Roe v. Wade wasn't standing on solid ground. Nothing has happened in the 20 years plus, and now the almost 50 years, nothing has happened with actual constitutional law that has said that Roe was wrong.
So you know what also just occurred to me, and I don't know if it's alcohol or whatnot, but it just occurred to me. A bunch of the cases that Kavanaugh referenced in his shit that Breyer just fucking rooked him on, a bunch of those cases are Some of them are older than Kavanaugh.
Yes.
A bunch of them are around the same age and the same generation as Kavanaugh.
Yes.
At that time, Breyer was a grown-ass man and an
Yes.
actual judge.
He was already on the bench at that time. It's a great point. Great point.
So he rooked him on every level.
Every
He's
level.
like, listen, Jip. If you're from the South, you're going to love that term. It's a wonderful. Listen, Jip. I was actually a judge when these things were happening.
Yes.
And you were in diapers.
Yes.
And I've read them, and it's clear you haven't.
Exactly. He's basically like, sit down.
Sit
let the
down.
adults handle this.
Have several seats.
Yes. That's great. So this is all very relevant to the conversation. The reason I bring all of this up and let you guys listen to a little bit of
Wow.
Justice Breyer and how he thinks and how he acts is because the replacement for him is very important. Now, President Biden made a promise that if there was a vacancy, he was going to appoint a woman, an African American, and the GOP is all in a fucking tizzy over this
Bro,
right now. And let me explain.
It don't
why.
have to be that for me. I don't need that. I just need the best person for the
I
job.
need-
I don't give a fuck who it is.
I like the idea of having more diversity, and I will explain in the sense that Roe v. Wade is important and it's in danger of being overturned because of these newer justices coming in whose sole purpose is to overturn it. But I don't care how empathetic a man is. He will never understand what it's like to carry a human inside your body, and at that, to be forced to carry it against your will. So I like the idea of having diversity, but that also includes women who are able to see these things from a different perspective, from their worldview, their experiences in life, being different from that of Brett Kavanaugh and even of Justice Breyer. So I think that we need to, it's great, let's have the most qualified person, but diversity is important for that very reason.
Here's my thing though, and like I don't know if I honestly don't know if I get backlash for this, and my brain isn't at 100% right now because I've been drinking, but like I don't think the Supreme Court is a place to fuck around with affirmative action. Like I don't think that is cool. Like I mean I guess for the culture and like for a certain section of the society, it's cool for a president to be like, if I have to appoint a justice, it will be a woman. It will be an African American. Okay, what if there is a person of a different gender and a different ethnicity that is more qualified than the most qualified African American woman? We just gonna go with that just because it is look cool? I don't want cool. I want
answer
amazing.
that very simply for you. Somebody who was super qualified, who was not an African American woman. Mm-hmm. What happened to him in 2017? Oh, yeah, that's right. Mitch McConnell decided that he wasn't allowed to have a hearing.
I know.
He's now our Attorney General, so he got his day.
Attorney General, or is he Secretary of the? No, he's not.
No, he's Attorney General.
He's Attorney General.
Yeah, Merrick Garland.
Yeah, I know.
He was
I know,
a person who was highly qualified, wasn't an African American woman, and he definitely should have sat on that court. But
Oh, yeah.
politics was what prevented him from being there.
No, but
So,
I don't have.
but-
So I'm not talking about the politics of the of passing the nomination. I'm talking about just the nomination. Like all right. So you and I respect Merrick Garland.
Yes.
He has an impeccable track record. Sure. This guy could be anybody's granddad, and like you could leave your kids with this guy and just know that, dude, them kids is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
This dude is cut. They don't make them like that anymore. That dude is straight up, right? Now, can you find an African American woman judge that is better than Merrick Garland in the United States of America? Where is she?
Well,
I don't know.
But you can't assume that there isn't.
No,
one.
I'm not saying there isn't, but what I'm saying is wherever she is, she needs to be better than Merrick Garland for me to be like, yay, African American woman. I'm not against, believe me, I'm pro-black. You know that.
Of course.
But at the same time, I want the best, not just because she is black and she is a woman. Because if she hasn't tried as many cases as Merrick Garland, if she hasn't had the experience of Merrick Garland, I want Merrick Garland.
You know what? I disagree with you, and here's why. Because women have had to hear this all of our goddamn lives.
No.
That we gotta be better than the best man around.
No. So if it was,
what it boils down to.
No, I'm
That's
not.
what-
I think you're mistaking me. If the best woman was a Native American, whatever, like get her.
No, I understand what
I'm
you're
not.
saying.
I'm not against the woman part. I'm not against the woman part.
understand.
I'm just saying, get the best person for the opening. Don't go into the presidency saying, I will do this and I will do that. Like, what if your two barometer choices aren't the best? Like, seriously. And I'm not saying Merrick Garland. Let's pick another woman. Let's pick your mom. If your mom was the best judge in the fucking land, I don't want a guy. I don't want a guy to come in and be like, I'm gonna pick a white male. No, pick Beth's mom. She's the best. That's all I'm saying. Whoever the best is, whatever their genitalia, put them in there.
Can I speak for a second?
Go on.
The court needs to be representative of our country. We do not have the voice of a black woman sitting on the Supreme Court.
That's fair.
The diversity needs to be representative of this country, and we do not have a court that's representative of this country. That's the bottom line.
I think that's a fair point. Oh no, that's a solid point.
And we women have heard it all of our lives.
Yeah.
When we're the ones when somebody comes and says, you know what, we need more women here, then we incessantly hear, oh, but we need the best person. We don't need the, we hear it.
I completely understand that. So here's and I'm not trying to like have the last word or whatever, right? If let's just say, for example, he literally said, I want it to be an African American woman, right? Mm-hmm. But what if the best judge for the time is a white female American? Should we then just pick the black woman because of diversity, or should we go with the best person, which also happens to be a woman?
The best person is completely subjective. It depends on what it is that we're looking for.
Well, it ain't Amy Coney Barrett.
That's true. That's purely political. Her choice was political.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with trying to get diversity. Well, someone who is selected based on race or gender is no different than choosing somebody based on how they view Roe v. Wade or how they view gun rights.
Okay.
It's just what it is that you want them to rule on. And I don't agree with us using the court that way, but that's just the reality of it. If the GOP is going to be focused on find me a person who will overturn Roe v. Wade, then please don't let me hear them clutching their pearls about, oh, they're looking for someone who is African American.
But that's the thing. They never say the quiet part out loud. No one ever comes out and says, we're choosing this judge because they will overturn Roe v. Wade. That's never said.
Well, no, but that's how their line of questioning is. And that's the fact that they go to the Federalist Society. Everybody knows what that means. That means they're there to overturn Roe v. Wade because that is the platform of Federalist Society. So the GOP fails to recognize how easy that they have it right now, though, because they're talking about how Joe Biden's going to choose this radical person and this and that and the other. Biden's a softie. He's a softie.
Yellow belly.
Lyndon Johnson, he was president in the 60s. He created a vacancy. Now, this is the kind of shit Biden could be doing.
Yeah.
But he's not doing because he's too soft. Johnson created a vacancy on the court by choosing the son of a sitting justice to become his attorney general.
Yeah.
That was Ramsey Clark, that he appointed as attorney general.
And so now we have conflict of interest and nepotism. So one of you motherfuckers got to go.
Yep.
And as a dad, if my son has a really nice post, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm out.
Step down.
I'm out. That's good politics.
That is exactly.
That's smart as fuck.
And that's how we got Thurgood Marshall, the first African American man on the court, was because Johnson was forcing somebody out.
It's such a chess match.
I know. So Biden could be doing this kind of shit. He could be, as your friend pointed out to you, he could be, I don't know, appointing Anita Hill on the Supreme Court, sitting right next to Clarence Thomas. That would be interesting. This is the kind of hardball that he could be playing right now. So
is she qualified though? That's my thing.
I have no idea. I don't know enough about her to know for sure. Yeah. But he could be doing so much with this shit right now. Mm. And not necessarily even in retribution for what Mitch McConnell did. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But Biden's just doing the bare minimum right now of just appointing a justice. He could be expanding the court. He could be forcing somebody to resign. He could be finding some person who is like the biggest troll ever to put on the court, but he's not. He's just finding
because that's what they did with fucking Amy Coney Barrett.
Yes.
They literally found the
Yes.
biggest troll.
Exactly.
And was just like, here you go for a lifetime appointment. Have a good-
Exactly. So they need to just kind of sit down and shut up for a little while. They're not in power. Give him this moment.
Yeah.
Give us this moment, please. So Mitch McConnell's Senate played it really, really dirty. In 2016, McConnell blocked President Obama from appointing a justice because he said it was too close to the election.
Well, we're 1 year into the Biden fucking presidency, so I don't
Yeah.
want to hear that shit.
I know. So that was when Justice Scalia died, and that was
Right.
8 months before an election. But then in June 2018, Justice Kennedy said he was retiring, and then that's when we got Brett Kavanaugh. And that was a midterm, and Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed 1 month before the midterms.
Yeah.
2022 is midterms, so we'll see if the GOP has the balls to even say that it's a midterm year, we can't be appointing anybody. If they say that, it's fucking bullshit.
You know they're gonna pull some shit because
Yes.
like they don't. It's not that they don't understand. They don't care about hypocrisy.
They don't.
They're just like
They have-
the only thing that matters to conservatives, the right, the GOP is winning.
Winning, that's it.
And to a certain extent, I respect that. I really do.
It just
Because
depends
the
on what
other
you
side,
want.
the other side are concerned with playing moral high ground chess.
Exactly.
While the GOP is like, flip table,
Yeah.
fuck you.
Exactly.
Bye. Like,
when-
what game are you playing? You're not playing the same game.
No, they're not. So when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died in September 2020, Mitch McConnell suddenly changed his tune when he said in a couple years prior, he said 8 months is too close to an election. Well, how about 1 week before an election? That's when we got Amy Coney Barrett confirmed. So no matter what, just save me every
they
ounce
don't
of disdain.
care about-
Spare me all the bullshit from the GOP about how they care so much about letting people no, they don't give a shit. They just want
All they care about is winning.
exactly. And that's it in a nutshell.
Really?
SCOTUS and the economy. We covered a lot today.
Yeah. And two different topics that like don't even really matter to each other.
No, but they're both in the headlines today. So
Yeah, and we're trying to be current. We're trying to give you shit that like, matters to you right now. The economy definitely matters to you. And what's happening with it. To be like honestly, personally, if there is any GOP bullshit with this nomination, I'm just gonna give up. Like reading news and just anything concerning that. Like I'm just like because like
I already have.
there you can only be bullied so much.
Yes, this is going to be interesting to see where this goes because of the fact that the Democratic Party is very, they're really very conservative when it comes to wielding power.
Very conservative. Someone once said, and we can finish on this, but someone once said, there is no left in America. It's all right.
Yes, correct.
All right.
Correct.
Tell these people how they can reach us.
So we are on Twitch at Mixed Politics, and we haven't been doing any streams there for a while. But
You said we were gonna live stream.
Yeah, we are definitely going to start doing that soon. So go over to Twitch and find us there. On YouTube, you can search us, Mixed Politics, 2 words. Facebook and Instagram at mixed.politics. Twitter at mixedpolitics1. And email us at mixedpoliticspod@gmail.com if you've got questions or suggestions for future topics. Be sure to go to subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a rating. Help us with the algorithm a little bit.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Share all the things. And then you're going to tell them about Patreon.
Patreon.com/mixedpolitics is where you give back to us for enjoying this hour that we spend with you every week or other week on your commute. I actually do recommend that. A lot of my friends have been telling me that they listen to the podcast on the way to work and then like the other half on the way back.
Yes.
Which I think is super cool.
I think that's great.
But if you do go to patreon.com/mixedpolitics, you can donate to the podcast. It'll give us better equipment. But there's also stuff that we provide back to you, whether it's merch, whether it's access to our behind the scenes, if it's bonus content, like we usually do an extra 30 minutes or more of an episode. Like once we click off here, we're gonna go do another mini episode for our Patreon subscribers. There have been a few, and we love you all. We appreciate you all. Like almost a year now, some of them have been.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
We
and
really appreciate
we
that.
appreciate you. There's merch. You can be a part of the show, whether remote or by a panel, or depending on the level that you subscribe or donate at Patreon. We'd welcome you here to come sit with us, to come sit at the bar, free drinks. There's as far as having dinner with us and spending the whole weekend just talking politics and bullshit and whatever. We can do that. We'll put you up in a nice hotel. It'll be great. So all of that is available and more and less at patreon.com/mixedpolitics.
All right.
Yeah.
So, to all our analysts, pundits, and experts, cheers.
We appreciate you. I like how you're not, like, you don't care about the time anymore.
I don't. I really don't.
You're just like, I got shit to say. Yeah. It takes a while, so, okay.